Perth pink. This is a bottle with a message in, and the message is, beware. This is not a wine for drinking. This is a wine for lying down and avoiding. Yep, those are the kind of annoying things that you get to hear if you're a friend of somebody who's a fan of Monty Python. I'm Jason Klom. I host the Comedy on Vinyl podcast, and for all of 2017, I am not only hiccuping, but I am also listening to a comedy album a day. You can see I'm wearing the same shirt as I was in my last video. That's because I'm playing catch-up. What I decided to do, since I just listened to the Rutland Weekend album, songbook, that is to say, and I decided to do 1972's Monty Python's previous record. This is going to be a fun one. A fun album, but also a fun episode of this. I've owned this forever. I have Instant Record Collection. I've got Matching Tan Handkerchief. I have, you can see right there, their first album. This is their third. And what's fun is I actually grew up not listening to Monty Python on vinyl, but on CD. I listened to a number of albums on vinyl, but, you know, the actual vinyl collection, I have a cat right here who's being my friend. Hi, cat. Okay, you're going to leave? That's fine. I started listening to these originally on CD, and which doesn't really necessarily matter, except that the CDs that I listened to, I'm going to try not to hiccup throughout this whole thing, were compilations. Specifically, Monty Python Sings and the Final Ripoff. And the Final Ripoff is a great compilation, and you're going to find a lot of this on there. Now, I want to reference so much of the stuff that's on here, but there's no fucking track listing as per there. I mean, here's the thing. There's the arm wrapping around it. It seems to be some previous art, or at least is intended to look like previous art with a little bit of words on there that's wrapped around. And then back here, just as much information. There might have been something on the sleeve, but I got a cheap version of this and there's no sleeve. I just have the record. Jesus, this is such a good album. I laughed so damn hard. Now, this is released in 1972, which is in the middle of Monty Python's Flying Circus being a thing. Okay, so arguably, at least it's the median of their fame, if not the height of their fame of the show. And my favorite thing about any of these Python albums, including the sketches that are recreated and the sketches that are original for the album, is the ones that are recreated are so brilliantly put together, so well thought out. So they feel very carefully put together, and I know they are. We had Andre Jacquemin on the podcast a while back, and he engineered these albums, and he had plenty to say about the kind of work they put into it, even when they were doing stuff kind of guerrilla style almost in his shed in his backyard. But my favorite thing is, even given that, for me, I grew up, while I knew Holy Grail, and I knew of the show. I mean, it's only occurred to me in the last couple of years, I only knew them as an audio group, really, other than the Holy Grail. I'd seen some of the episodes that you could see on PBS, but at the time, there was no DVD, no high-speed internet, so really weren't getting anything like that. So if the show wasn't on, I wasn't going to be able to see it. I didn't have any place that I could rent it. And so I really know Monty Python more as an audio comedy group. And it's weird to say that because I know how everybody else perceives it, and therefore I have to kind of adjust my perspective when I talk to people about it. Like, yeah, of course, Monty Python's Flying Circus was great, but it's only actually through the albums that they become Monty Python as a group name. Because the show was Monty Python's Flying Circus. That was not the name of the group. It was just it was going to be Owl Stretching Time. So this would have been the full name of an album. If they'd done an album, would have been Owl Stretching Time's previous record. Whereas the show, Monty Python's Flying Circus, gets knocked down to Monty Python as a name. So the group wouldn't have been called Monty Python, I don't think, without these albums. I don't know colloquially how soon they were referred to as Monty Python. I know that's how we speak about them over here. You'll hear other, and I've done it too, but other people who love comedy and specifically love English comedy who want to sound super special call them the Pythons, or even Americans who call them the Pythons, which is Good for you. You know how to pronounce things like the English do. But anyway, I do think that without these albums, they wouldn't necessarily be referred to in pop culture. They wouldn't be solidified in pop culture as Monty Python without these, because we got Monty Python's previous record. We got the Monty Python Matching Tie and Handkerchief. It becomes this character that you never see, never hear from, and also the name of the group at the same time. It's convenient. It might seem insignificant in those terms, but to me it's very interesting that those get condensed. Now, I wanted to get a track listing, and actually here it is. So this has got a long, dumb screed on it, one side, but then side A does have an entire track listing for the entire thing. Now, it does say 1973 on the album itself, 1972 on the back, but I do believe 1972. It was where I found what I found on Discogs. I do believe. I could be wrong. I'll have to double check it. But there's so much good stuff on here. I'm 6 minutes in and I haven't gotten into any of the stuff that's in here. Just got all pretentious. But probably my favorite Monty Python song of all time is the Money Song. And I had actually forgotten the preamble to it. The sketch. I mean, I know the sketch, but I had forgotten enough of it. I had never heard the preamble to it as an audio thing. Again, these are all recreated. These are not, none of this is taken from the show. It wouldn't actually be of high enough quality if it came from the show. It would sound just subpar. This stuff sounds nice and warm, and I don't mean in a vinyl sense. I mean it was recorded in a damn studio sense. So they recreated some stuff, which means they also get a chance to revisit it, to try it again, to see if they can do it better. And I would say arguably they probably do. I love the Monty Python audio stuff, even more than I love the show, and I love the show. The Money Song is one of my favorite. Australian Table Wines, which is what I was quoting at the beginning, is the best. It is one of the silliest things. Eric the Halfabee. There are just a number of sketches on here that I have never heard or seen. I would have to look up, honestly, to know what's original and what isn't, because, again, I grew up with certain albums. I'm just shocked that I haven't listened to this before now. And it ends with this 7-minute thing about a fairy tale, and they're all ridiculous. They're all just delightful throughout it. There are interruptions. A massage from the Swedish Prime Minister, which is just the sound of a massage 3 times, and to the point where it's like, is there going to be a punchline? Heads up, no punchline. It's great. It's just a friggin' delight of an album. It goes very fast, very, very, very fast. All of them tend to. But I guess having never heard it before, even with knowing some of this material almost back and forward, it still flew by very quickly. So Monty Python's previous record, 1972 or 1973, depending on your source, it does say 1973, like I said, on the record, 1972 on the back. Pretty sure online it says 1972. But either way, it's their third record. That's what's important. And it is one of those things that solidifies it. And I'm just looking at this album. See, the thing is, it says Monty Python's Flying Circus on the Monty Python's Flying Circus first album, but as soon as you get to the second album, it's Monty Python's This. So, previous record, blah, blah, blah. So, it's kind of the Monty Python's Flying Circus is just the name of the show, and they kind of establish it as, if you call it Monty Python's This, This, and This. Anyway, etymology, words and things. Again, if you would, check out the Comedy on Vinyl podcast, where I sit for an hour and talk with somebody who loves an album. I've got a bunch of really great ones coming up. I'm going to try and double them up this week, because we did not have one that came out last week. Check us out on iTunes. Go to stolendress.com. That's where my podcast network is. Subscribe to us on iTunes. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. Please, it really, really helps it. We've actually had a lot of response to this on YouTube, so it helps when you guys check us out here, but also go elsewhere. Tell people about it. If you do, share it. Hashtag Comedy Album a Day. That's it. Check out my other podcasts too, because I do 3 podcasts a week generally. I have Dan and Jay's Comedy Hour, which is where my best friend Dan and I talk about our own sketches from forever ago. I didn't even mention Australian Table Wines, as well as Rock Notes. Those 2 sketches are kind of responsible for my comedy style. I mean, I've stolen them left and right. Fake history and fake facts they're my favorite thing to write. And that kind of can become satire if you're any good at it, which I hope I am. But like that's one reason why this album is so damn important. This is the origin of that version of the Australian Table Wine sketch. Without that, I might not be a comedy writer. But anyway, there's Dan and Jay's Comedy Hour. There's also Dispatches from Fort Awesome, a news radio podcast where it's a TV podcast where one by one, one of my best friends, Alan, and I, and a lady named Jen, we do a podcast about the show News Radio. Easy enough. We talk about every episode, and we're up to episode, I have no idea right now because I'm a little drunk. But that's a fun show. Comedy on Vinyl. I do a video podcast with my best friend Dan called Jay Likes to Watch, where I watch him play video games. We have Food Holes, which we haven't done in a while, but that's where he and I try garbage food. I'm here in Los Angeles. He's there in Boise, Idaho, and we just across the way, we try the same stuff, and there are a couple where I really make him sick, and it's delightful. That's about it. I'm Jason Klom. Thank you for watching, and as always, have a good thing.